Guam. He's Chamorro and English. So I wrote this book, and it was illustrated by Jamie Mikkel-Tablason, and it was published by Beach House Publishing, which is located in Honolulu. 10 little surfers run in a line, one falls down, and then there are 9. 9 little surfers paddle out straight. One girl turtle rolls, and then there are 8. So you can see this little girl, right? She's falling down. 8 little surfers gaze up at heaven. One drops in, and then there are 7. So can somebody tell me, what do you think is going to happen next?
What do you think is going to happen next?
I think one surfer is like gonna get pushed by a wave, maybe.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Let's find out. 7 little surfers doing air tricks. One wipes out, and then there are 6. So you're right. We do see a wave there. So we see here that we have girls and boys who are surfers, and you notice they look different, right? Because in Hawaii, right, there are people from all over the world who enjoy the ocean.
I see one fall down.
Oh yeah, you saw one fall down, right? Oh, good. 6 little surfers make a duck dive. One board is lost, and then there are 5. So can somebody tell me, what do you see here below this boy? Do we know what this is called?
Coral reef.
Oh, very good. Coral reef.
See?
Yeah. And we see the coral reefs, right, are different colors, right? They're very pretty.
The boy is sinking.
Oh yeah, he is sinking. Oh, very good. Can somebody tell me, what is this animal here? Does anyone know?
Anybody else wants to do it?
Dolphin.
Oh, that's right. It is a dolphin. Very good.
I can
So
see a turtle sinking.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I can see the sinking. Good. Okay, 5 little surfers head back to shore. A dolphin leaps up. Then there are, so how many do you think? 4.
1, 2, 3.
4.
Good. Oh, then we're gonna have, okay, so we're gonna have 3. Let's find out. Okay, 4 little surfers yell, "Oh gee," a gnarly wave crashes, and then there are, how many do you think that they're gonna be?
3.
3. Oh, very good. You're very good at math. Good. 3 little surfers haul to a, what is this called?
Yeah, a canoe.
A canoe. Very good. Oh, one jumps in, and then there are 2.
2.
Oh, you're all very good at math. Very good. Okay.
I can see all.
Oh, what do we call this in Hawaii? Does anyone know the Hawaiian word? It is a turtle. Very good. Good.
I don't know.
You don't know? Oh, okay. It's okay. So in Hawaiian, it's called honu. Yeah.
Honu, right.
This is the Hawaiian word for turtle. 2 little surfers float in the sun. A honu glides over, and then there is
2. 1.
What? I saw somebody say 1. Very good. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen next?
I think she's gonna swim back to shore because it's getting dark.
Oh, okay.
It's started getting like the evening.
Oh, okay.
So let's sweat down.
Oh, well, you guys were close. 1 little surfer hanging 10, right, beckons her friends in to surf again. Oh, so can have any of you been surfing before? Has anyone surfed?
No. I am when I go to Disneyland at California.
Oh, in California. Yeah, there is a lot of surfing there. Good. And do you have any surfers in your family?
And then I've been in my mom's tummy.
Oh, okay. And then Kiana, do you have any, are there any surfers in your family?
Yeah, see. Uncle Derek's a surfer. Yeah, our uncle is a surfer.
Oh yeah, Guam has, does he surf on Guam?
Yes, he does.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good, because on Guam, right, we have a lot of surfing, like around Talafofo Bay, that area.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, so we see here that this is a math book, right? And we're counting backwards, right? So did you enjoy the story?
Did you like?
Yes, I did. I did like
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun way to just practice our math, right? Because we're practicing, right, subtraction when we go from like 10 to 9 to 8, right, all the way down to 0. Good.
10, 9,
Okay.
8, 10.
Well, do you have any questions about this book before I move on to my next one?
Do you have any questions?
I don't. Where did you get the idea of Hawaii?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. So my grandma was a surfer, and so she's always talked about it. My uncle surfed too. Unfortunately, I don't swim that well, so I can't surf. But I've always been really I've always loved surfing culture because it's just so much fun. And I actually just like to watch surfing too. And so what I like about it is that, girls can do it, boys can do it. And then we see people from all over the world doing it. And it's so nice to see, people do it all over the world. They do it in South Africa, they do it in Europe. And so it's really nice that it's something that draws together people from all over the world. Well, that's a very good question. Thank you. God. And Kiana, do you have any questions? No?
I think she's wondering about the artist, working with the artist for this book and all of the nice pictures. Could you talk about that?
Sure, that's a really good question. So with this book, this is an illustrator and we didn't know each other and we didn't talk, but they sent me the drawings to look at and then they asked me what I thought. And I said, oh, I really like that, especially because there are different kids, right? Different keiki, right? That's how we say kid in Hawaiian. And I like that. And then they let me choose the cover. So I thought that was really nice too, because they told me, okay, like here are all these drawings. Which one do you want to be put on the cover? And I really like this one because for me, there's a girl and a boy. So I really wanted to make sure that girls and boys could see themselves in the book. That's a very good question. Good. Well, are any of you interested in being an illustrator or a writer?
You want to draw pictures for a book, or do you want to write a book?
I would have written a book.
Yeah.
I am.
Oh, good. Oh,
Writing my own little book. Hello.
So did you get the pictures prior and then you created the story?
No, actually, I wrote the story first. And then after I wrote the story, I sent it to the publisher. And then the publisher had worked with this illustrator before. So she asked her to do it again. Yeah. And this illustrator, she's originally from Hawaii, but now she lives in California.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, thanks for the good questions. Any other questions about this book?
One of the things that I really loved about this book and reading it is the rhyming. I love the rhymes. It's so important for kids to hear rhyme books. How was it for you writing, writing each one and trying to come up with the rhyme?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So it is hard to write rhyming books, and as authors, we're always told that if you don't rhyme perfectly, don't try rhyming at all. And so that was really hard, but I know for little kids, I've done a lot of research that they really like rhyming because of the sound, and also it helps with the prediction. You can predict, right, what the number will be. So they say it's really good for learning. So, and then it's just good for the repetition of the sound. So that's why I decided to do that. But I've had a hard time rhyming with other books. So I only have one other book that rhymes and the rest don't because it's too hard. But that's a really good question. And that's also good feedback for me to know too. That's something that I could definitely work on with the rhyming. So this is actually called a board book. So I'll show you, right? So a board book is smaller than say a picture book, right? Like this is a picture book. And so a board book, right, is meant for ages 0 to 3, whereas like a picture book like CHepCHop Unai, that's meant for older children, that's meant for ages 4 to 8. Yeah, those are good questions. Any other questions? Okay, so then I'll read my next book. So this is called CHepCHop Unai. So CHepCHop Unai, Unai means sand, and CHepCHop is actually an onomatopoeia in the Chamorro language, and it means like sucking. So this is actually where the sand sucks up the water. So I meant it literally and figuratively. I meant it as, so on some of the islands in the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, they actually call their beaches CHepCHop Unai, as opposed to Guam, where we call them Contentasi. And that's because they really like the idea of the sand sucking up the water. And it was also a place where the boy sucks up knowledge. So when I write picture books, I try to write them with different layers. I try to write them literally for children, but figuratively for adults, because with picture books, adults, right, will read them. And so I want to make sure that adults can enjoy them. And with picture books, we really think about the rereadability factor. So I know that I need different layers in order for adults, whether they're teachers, librarians, or parents, right, will be willing to reread the book. Okay, so this is illustrated by Neil Katange. So he's a Filipino from Guam, but he's now living in Pennsylvania. So on Guam, one of our most famous symbols is the laddie stone, and that was used at the bottom of shelters like homes. And so the laddie stone is a symbol of strength. We also have turtles on Guam too. That's a very important part of our culture. So people used to eat turtles, even my family did. So these are called hagen. So it's a little bit different from Hawaiian. And then we have starfish here. The starfish actually has different terms in the Chamorro language. There's one term which is closer to the Spanish, which is putiontasi. And then we have the shark, which is halu'u. Okay, so this is dedicated to my grandmother, who is Chamorro. Okay. So here we have a beach, and we have here a sand sculpture. And this is in the shape of which animal? What animal do you think this is?
Penguin. I think it's a turtle. Turtle.
Oh, turtle. Okay, great. Yeah, it's a turtle, but I can see how it looks like a penguin because of the legs. Yeah, so I could see that for sure. Okay, great. And so on Guam, we have hats that are woven out of, does anyone know, what do we weave hats out of on Guam?
I think it's like leaves from like what's it called? Palm trees, like the leaves.
Yeah, you're close. And Kiana, does your group have some?
Coconut trees.
Oh, coconut trees, right. Good. Okay. The sun beamed as Tun Pedro shaped sand into a hagen or turtle. Wow, Juan said, that's cool. Si duas maasi, thank you, Tun Pedro thanked him. Can I try? Juan asked Ungan. Yes, Tun Pedro replied with an encouraging smile. So we see here that this is Juan, right? And he's admiring this sand sculpture, right, in the shape of a turtle. And this is Tun Pedro. So Tun is an honorific or title, and we use it to show respect. So for males, we say Tun, and for women, we say Tan. Guahu si Tun Pedro. I'm Tun Pedro. Nyot, Juan replied as he took Tun Pedro's hand and sniffed it. It's nice to meet you. Dios te azuri, may God help you, Tun Pedro said softly. Hadzin na anmu, or what are you called? So this is a Chamorro way of showing respect. And the Chamorros will take the hand of an elder and they'll sniff it, right, to inhale the essence. And that's a means of showing respect here. And so we see that Juan is very respectful to his elders. Guahusi Juan, I'm called Juan, but my friends call me Dofi. Juan replied with a smile, revealing his missing tooth. So Kiana's group, do you know what Dofi means?
Smile big, Duffy.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, so she saw Juan and she said that he's missing a tooth like her.
Yeah, so we're all Dofi at one point in our lives. Good. I know your grandparents, Tin Pedro said. He waved to Juan's grandmother, who was weaving coconut leaves into baskets under the shape of a canopy. Your grandfather is my primu or cousin, he said. He pointed to Juan's grandfather, who was fishing with a taladza or net. Our grandmothers are sisters. So let's take a look at these photos here. So we see here that this is Juan's grandma, and she's keeping cool in the shade, right? What do we call this thing right over here? Does anyone know?
A canopy.
Oh, it's a canopy, right? And that keeps us cool because it can get really hot. Oh, good. And so that's Juan's grandma, and this is Juan's grandpa, right? And so he has something on his shoulder, and it's called a taladza, right? So Kiana's group, do you know what a taladza is?
What does he use the talata for? You said it. Say it one more time. Yeah, for fish. She said
Yeah,
for fish.
very good. It is to catch fish. Very good. So we find out that Juan went to the beach with his grandma and his grandpa, and he finds out that he's actually related to this man because this man and his grandpa, right, are actually cousins. So that happens to us a lot on Guam, right? A lot of us Chamorros are related. So oftentimes I'll go someplace and I'll find out I'm related to somebody. Working together, Twin Pedro and Juan shaped sand into lots of laddie stones until whoosh, a big wave swept away the sand sculptures. Oh no, Juan screamed. Tata Guaha, no worries, Twin Pedro calmed him. You can make another one. Why do you think Juan is upset? Does anyone know? Okay, yes. Pauline's group.
The water splashed down his sculptures, and now he's very mad about that.
Yeah, I would be mad about that too. If I'm working so hard to make these beautiful laddie stones and a wave washed them down. So what do you think Juan's going to do next?
Make
Sorry.
another one. Further.
You think he's going to make another one? Okay, let's find out. I can, Juan asked. Chaggy, try, Tun Pedro said, inviting Juan to try again. Juan scooped up sand with his tiny hands. So yes, you're right. Juan did try again. So the Chamorro word for try is chaggy. The next afternoon, Juan followed Tatan Bihu, grandfather, and Nanan Biha, grandmother, to the CHepCHop Unai, where the land meets the sea. While Tatan Bihu, or grandpa, cast his taladza or net, Nanan Biha wove baskets to hold fish. So this happens a lot in our Chamorro families where the grandpa will go fishing and the grandma, she'll make baskets to hold the fish, right? Because we can't hold it with our hands, right? That'd be kind of hard, right? And so we see here that, yeah, there are all of these sand sculptures. So can somebody tell me, what is this symbol again? What do we call this?
Say it louder.
Laddie.
Right, it's a laddie stone. Good. What do we call this? What does this look like to you?
Uno?
Yeah.
Is it uno?
Well, it's a fish. So in Chamorro, it's called guihan. Good. And then how about this? What does this look like to you?
Starfish.
Oh, starfish, right.
Starfish.
Oh, good. Okay, so one of the ways to say it in Chamorro is Putiuntasi. Juan stayed at the shore and shaped sand into all kinds of sea creatures from Putiuntasi to Halu'u. Okay, so we see here, right, that this is how a taladza looks when it's spread out. It's actually very big because it's catching a lot of fish. How many of you have played with a fishing net before? Have you tried like helping your grandpa or your uncle? No? Oh, okay. Well, they're really fun.
I sort of did it with a net, like a net. I sort of did it like a net, but it was a pole. Like the net had a pole, so I just scooped some fish. I caught like
that's fun. Yeah, and did you catch some fish?
Nope. Henry
No,
did.
okay.
I did.
Okay. And then Kiana's group, have you ever seen a talladza in real life?
Have you seen a talladza? You said they brought it to this one. They brought it to your school? Yeah, so she said she's not played with it, but they brought it to her school.
Oh yeah, they do that for presentations. Good. Yeah, we see here that Juan, he's like making here the sculpture in the shape of an animal. Does anyone know what this animal is? Oh, I think Pauline's group was saying something.
Did you want to say
No.
it? They're trying to remember the name.
Oh, that's okay. In English, it's shark, right? And in Chamorro, it's halu'u. Yeah, but shark is fine too.
I knew it had a mommy.
Oh, well, you're learning some Chamorro. Good. So Juan is having so much fun at the beach, right? But we can't stay at the beach forever. So the sky was darkening by the time Tatambihu or Grandpa came back to shore. Juan, it's time to go home, Nanambiha, or Grandma said. Can we come back to this CHepCHop Unai? Juan asked. Ungan, yes, Nanambiha said. I hope it will always be here for you. Has that ever happened to you where you are staying at a beach and it's getting kind of dark and somebody's saying, okay, it's time to go home? Yeah, that happens to me too. Yeah, so when I was little, my parents used to tell me it's time to come home. Did you hear about the sand sculpture contest at the fishing derby? Tatambihu asked. Ahi, no, Juan replied. The winner gets a talladza, Tatambihu said. Like yours, I want one, Juan said. Does anyone remember what is a talladza? Okay, Pauline's group.
Maybe a fishing net?
Yes. Oh, good. You have a good memory and you're learning tomorrow. Good.
It's a box.
Okay, good. Whether you win or lose, I'll show you how to use a talata, my boy, Tatambihu said. And whether you win or lose, we're proud of you, Nanahanbiha added. Okay, so do you think that Juan is going to join the sand sculpture contest? You think so? Do you think he's going to win?
No. Yes, I think he's gonna join, and I think he's gonna win.
Okay, let's find out.
Dark and it's very good.
Okay. On the morning of the contest, Juan's hands were shaking. Once he touched the warm sand, however, they became steady. As Juan shaped sand into sakman, or a large canoe, a crowd formed around him. So everybody's come to watch Juan. Atanha, look at that, a woman said, pointing at the canoe. Maulik, good, a man replied, appreciating Juan's work. Wow, let's see what Juan did. Oh, wow, look at this. So the Chamorros would actually sail on the open ocean with different kinds of canoes. There are many kinds, but one kind is called the Sakman, right? And this is what Juan did. And he based it all on his memory. That's pretty good. Right? Can somebody tell me, what is this boy doing here? What is he carrying in his hand and what is he doing?
Oh, I know. He's taking a photo of the sculpture, the sand sculpture, and he is, and it's okay, and he is holding a camera.
Oh, very good, right? And he's taking photos. Okay. Right. So let's see how Juan is doing. A tall woman named Tassi blew a kulu or shell. So this is what a kulu looks like. It's a type of shell, informing contestants that their time was up. Nafakpo, it's over, Tassi exclaimed. The judges are going to walk around and look at the sand sculptures. The judges made their way to Juan Sakman. Patgunhu, my child, you are a talented sculptor, a judge said. Siduas Maasi, thank you, Juan replied. Tassi blew her kulu or shell again. Her voice boomed, Esta ora, it's time. I'm going to announce the winner. Okay, so can I see a show of hands? How many of you think Juan is going to win? Okay, so I see a couple of people, right? You think he's going to win. So let's find out. Juan and the other contestants gathered in the shade of the coconut trees. The winner is Tun Pedro Cruz for his Guma Laddie, Tossie said. Who's Tun Pedro? Does anyone remember who Tun Pedro is? Oh,
That's his grandpa.
Oh, okay. So Tun Pedro is the man at the beginning of the story. Tun Pedro is the man who taught Juan how to build sand sculptures. So he beat Juan in the contest. So how do you think Juan's going to feel? Okay, Pauline's group.
I feel like he's gonna feel like what? Like just a question is in his mind, like why did he win? Why didn't I?
Why didn't he win? Yeah. So yeah, how many of you have lost contests before? Yeah, you have. And how did you feel after you lost a contest?
Sad.
Sad.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sad. Yeah, I feel sad too, right? Many of us, we feel sad when we lose a contest. So let's find out, right, how Juan feels. Tun Pedro walked over to the judges. A judge who looked like a Magalahi or chief handed him a talada. So in the Chamorro culture, our chiefs, right, look like this, right? They Magalahi right here. And we see that the prize, right, is the talada or net. So this is a gumalati. So in the Chamorro culture, right, our homes used to look like this, where we used to have laddie stones at the bottom. The laddie stones were the pillars. And then at the top, right, they would be thatched, right? So they would be pointed and we would make them out of coconut leaves, right? So this is actually a very nice sculpture. What do you think of this sculpture?
I think it's very cool, and I think he needed a ladder to do that because it's gonna be way taller than him.
Yeah, do you think it's nicer than Juan's sculpture?
A little bit.
Do you think that Tun Pedro deserved to win?
Yes.
You think so? Okay, so let's find out how Juan feels. Feeling a little sad, Juan plopped down near his sockman. This is the nicest sockman I have ever seen, Tatanbihu or Grandpa said to Juan. I can imagine our ancestors sailing the deepest seas with it. So why do you think Grandma and Grandpa came over to Juan? What are they trying to do?
Yeah. I think
Make
he
them happy.
tried to
Knock it. That.
You think they're trying to help Juan feel better?
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay to feel sad if we lose a contest, right? That's normal. It's okay to cry. So we see here that Grandpa and Grandma, they love Juan, right? And they're trying to make him feel better because even though he didn't lose the contest, he still did a good job, right? He still tried his best. Yeah, and so this is still a very beautiful sculpture. And, you know, it's just what our Chamorro ancestors had used to sail the deepest seas with it. Half a day, Tun Pedro said as he approached Juan. Oh, how do you think Juan's going to feel to see Tun Pedro now? Do you think he's going to be angry or how do you think he's going to feel? Oh, sorry. Do you want to unmute?
Go ahead, honey.
I feel like
Happy.
he's gonna feel happy. He
You-
wants.
Happy.
Oh, you think he's going to be happy for? Oh, and then Kiana's group? Do you want to?
Hey,
Say that again, baby.
it's going to be happy.
Oh, he's going to be happy for, oh, okay, let's find out. Half a day, right? How are you? Tun Pedro said as he approached Juan. Gof Malik, and now that's very good, he said, pointing to Juan's sculpture. Si Zeus Maasi, Juan thanked Tun Pedro and rose to Ningi his hand. Dios te azudi, may God help you, Tun Pedro said. I knew you would build great sand sculptures. I learned from the best, Juan said, and smiled with gratitude. So how do you think Juan is being a good sportsman? Okay, Pauline's group.
He's being a good sportsman by not like refusing to him, like not being mad at him and like saying stuff like, "Oh, I should have won. That sucks that I lose." Like, he's happy, so and he's being a good sportsman.
Yeah, and that can be hard. I know that sometimes, when I lose a contest, sometimes I'm not the happiest person, but it's always nice to congratulate the winner, right? Because, right, that's what being a good sportsman, a good sportswoman is about, right? Good. So, do you think this is going to be the end of Juan building sand sculptures, or do you think he's going to continue?
I think he's going to continue, not stop, because he did such a good job on his boat. I think next year he's going to win.
Oh, okay. So let's find out what goes on. Okay, Esta, that's all. Don Pedro said, adios, goodbye. Juan replied, congratulations, Abiba, hooray, Don Pedro exclaimed. So you can see Juan is feeling a lot better now that Don Pedro came over to talk to him, right? So they're saying goodbye. This is Juan as he's growing up, right? This is a bigger canoe. And what does this look like to you? What animal is that? Kiana's group, did you want to?
Say it louder, baby. He said a dolphin.
Oh, well, that's great. Yeah, that's very close. It's a swordfish, but I can see how it looks like a dolphin for sure. Yeah. Okay, good. So we see here that doesn't Juan look different as he's getting older, right? He's getting, right? How does he look different?
His hair is a little bit longer and he's a little bit taller, I can notice.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Okay, great. Juan continued to build sand sculptures at the CHepCHop Unai. As he grew, so did his sculptures. They became bigger and more beautiful, right? So here's Juan now, and he's a teenager here, right? So a lot of Chamorros, right? The males will use something around their neck, right? Kiana's group, do you know what that is?
Louder.
Sanahi, butterfly.
Oh, very good. That's right. Good. And so this here is a coconut crab. So you can see it's much bigger than Juan. So he's getting more talented. So you were right. Juan didn't give up. Why do you think Juan continued to make sand sculptures?
Because every time it did, it made them happier.
Right. Because it made him happy to make sand sculptures. So he enjoyed it. So it didn't matter to him whether he won or lost the contest anymore. All that mattered was that he enjoyed it. Good. So sometimes, right, we can do things, and even though we may not win at them, if we enjoy them, right, then they're still worth doing. One might be or hot afternoon, Juan was making a sand sculpture of Magalahi or Chief Gadao in his canoe when his little cousin Isa approached him. Oh, here's Grandma and Grandpa. Do they look different to you?
They looked very older. They look a little bit older.
Yeah, they do look a lot older, but they still, right, love to go to the beach with Juan. So in our Chamorro culture, our grandparents will stay with us our whole lives. Primu, cousin, that's nice, Isa said. Sidus Maasi, thank you, Prima, Juan replied. Can I try? Isa asked. Ungan. Yes, Juan replied with an encouraging smile. So on Guam, we have a real sculpture that looks like this, right? Kiana's group, have you seen this sculpture on Guam?
She said no, she hasn't, but she
Oh,
has.
that's okay. Oh, that's okay. So it's in a village called Inalahan. Okay. So this, what do you think of this sculpture? Do you think it's a nice sand sculpture?
I think it's like representing his his ancestors.
Oh, very good. Yeah, because so this is a chief Gadao. He's very famous in Chamorro culture. A lot of us look up to him for his bravery and strength. So yes, good. Oh, very smart. Working together, Juan and Isa shaped sand into lots of laddie stones until whoosh, a big wave swept away the sand sculptures. Oh no, Isa shrieked. Tata Guaha, no worries. Juan calmed her. You can make another one. Do you think she's going to make another one?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I can, Issa asked. Shaggy, try, one said, inviting Issa to try again. Issa scooped up sand with her tiny hands. Does this ending remind you of another part of the story?
Yes, it does. It reminds me like the boy tried to do it and the exact same thing happened to him, but his like his grandpa told him, don't give up, keep on going. And now he's telling the little girl, don't give up, keep on going.
Wow, that's very good. Yeah, you summarized the story. So I did this because in Chamorro culture, it's really important to pass down knowledge, that if somebody teaches us something, we have a responsibility to teach somebody else. Oh, very good. So yeah, at the end of my story, we have a list of words. Does anyone know, what do we call a list of words at the end of a book? Right? It's what this word is. It begins with the G. Pauline's group.
Glossary of
Yeah.
Chamorro words.
Very good. Yeah. Very good. And so, yeah, this is just a little bit about me and the illustrator. So thank you so much for letting me read the story to you. Do you have any questions about this story?
Do they really have those sand castle, or sorry, the sand competitions in Guam?
Well, we did a few years ago, but then they stopped. Yeah.
And then I'm curious, what is the Chamorro word for like wayfinders? Or is that is that, sorry, I was just reading stuff online about wayfinding and how that's very much part of culture. And I was wondering, is there a term in Chamorro for it?
Yeah, I probably have to look that up because there are different kinds of navigators, and there are Carolinian navigators. And so I know that, so Carolinians live in the Northern Mariana Islands. So I have to look that up because I think the Carolinian word might be different from the Chamorro word. Kiana, do you know?
I'm thinking, and I can't think of the word for the person in the actual wayfinder. I can think of like the words for like the Satsman or the, like the proa, but I can't think of the word for the person.
Okay. And then for the readers, I was wondering, so what did you like about Juan? What are some of the traits that you liked about him?
Okay, go ahead.
I like that he was very brave and never gave up.
Oh, good. Yeah, and we noticed that Juan is always very polite, right? How did Juan show that he was very polite? Oh, sorry, do you want to?
It was he snapped his elder's hand.
Right. So he was always very polite. He always showed respect to elders, right, by the ningi. And he also said thank you whenever somebody, right, gave him a compliment. And in Chamorro, we can either say Siduas Maasi or Saina Maasi. Good. And how do you say thank you in your language, right? Like in Hawaiian, we say mahalo. And then any other ways that you know how to say thank you?
Malo.
Oh, good. Great. Any other questions about this book?
You want to ask her your question from earlier about the writing? Go ahead and ask. Was it? Chloe was wondering if it was hard to write this story because there's so many words. So she was asking, was it hard for you to write?
Yeah, actually, so that's a really good question. I think writing picture books can be hard because I had to make sure that they could lend themselves to illustrations. So that was one thing. The other thing was that it has Chamorro words within like English sentences. So I had to make sure that the illustrations and the context clues would help the children pick up the Chamorro words, because ideally this could be read, by like early Chamorro speakers or even non-Chamorro speakers, by the context clues and by the illustration. So that part was difficult for me too.
Another question she was asking while you were reading was if you went to the beach. She said, is that the teacher? Does the teacher go to the beach all the time too? So
Yeah, when I was little, I used to go to the beach a lot. So like for me, like a lot of the Chamorro culture has to do with the beach, right? Like with the idea of like absorbing knowledge. Like for me, like the beach is a symbol of that. And also to like the Sakman, the canoes, that was also like to me a symbol of bravery, right? Like the Chamorros, they could like just swim, like, and they would like, boat on the open seas. And for me, that's scary, but they were able to do it.
and then I know you mentioned that, you were trying to figure out a way to balance like the language that you have here with the illustrations and the Chamorro words. One of the things I appreciated was I think that you succeeded in choosing those phrases that the kids can really like hold on to, because these are things that we use in like everyday language, right? Like chagi, even the nyot, like they're seeing all of these really important things illustrated. So I really appreciated that. And I was wondering about, when you were reading, you did so good at like translating while you were reading, right? But then one of the things that we see in other children's books is like them having the translation right on the page. So was that something that you were thinking about while you were writing, like whether to have the translation right on the page, or what made you decide to have the glossary in the back rather than do it that way?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So this is right, like a mixed language book. So I did think about how to handle that, because it could have been dual language, or it could have been English and then Chamorro. But I didn't want that, because a lot of Chamorros are like me, where my level of proficiency is actually at the age of a child. And so like this is how I kind of speak Chamorro and English, right? I'll mix Chamorro words into English syntax. And so I wanted that because I think it'll help children relate to a lot of the concepts. And then the other thing was that they wouldn't feel intimidated learning the Chamorro language that way. But this was, it was on purpose to do a mixed language book. So what I had to do was a lot of research on how to make sure the context clues and the illustrations support it. And then I also do a lot of author visits. So that's how I kind of picked up like how to like translate even more depending on my audience. So like, for example, when I speak at schools that are predominantly Chamorro, I don't actually have to translate. Like I'll just say Chagi, Juan said, inviting Isa to try again. But if I know that there are people in my audience who are non-Chamorro speakers, then I will actually be more direct about the translation.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, good. And I can show you just a few other words. So this was another book that I wrote with my brother, and it came out in November. It's called These Little Kittens in Hawaii. So they go around the Hawaiian Islands. And then this is a sneak peek of a cover of my next book that's going to be coming out in early August. So it's called Ilalai I Balambatudzan. And so this is a Chamorro instrument, but it's actually, there are several theories about where it came from. One theory is that it came from Africa, and that it's actually related to the berimbau, and that it went from Africa to Brazil. And then, as you all know, right, we had a lot of European sailors who were traveling all around like South America to Asia and then the Pacific. So the predominant theory is that this is actually related to the African instrument. So what I love about it is that I always say the belly makes the sound, but the heart makes the music, because the gourd rests on the belly, and so it creates the sound box, but it's really the heart right, that captures, right, the emotional like tone. So the name of the girl is Lalai, and this is her Bella Matuzan, and it's actually a book about music and grief. Oh, and I see a question.
What is going to be the main idea of this book? What is the main idea? Book?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So it's about a girl. She learns how to play this instrument from her grandfather, and her grandfather is dying. So we see how she learns the instrument and how she copes with her grandfather's illness.
You know, Kathy, I was lucky to read Ilalai Balambal because I am going to be reviewing it for the press for the launch. So it's a really beautiful book, and I'm so excited to get my hands on this and have it even just, yeah, I feel like this story, and I don't want to say anything too much, but it's so important, and I'm really excited for it to come out. And I hope when it does, we can have you back and yeah, do a reading because it's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And that book, like, I've actually grown a lot as a writer too. Like, it's so much more layered than CHepCHop Unai. Like, I actually got like two cultural experts to look at it. One, she is a Bella Matuzan player. So I don't play the Bella Matuzan. I appreciate it, but I don't play it. But I got a Bella Matuzan player to review it, the manuscript, the art. We also had language experts review it, and we also had the Chamorro Language Commission review it. And then we also had a mental health provider. She actually wrote a note at the back of the book about how to broach the subject with children about grief, because I was really sensitive about that too, because I was like, I wanted to make sure that it was checked by an expert if like it was okay, and if I needed to change anything. She signed off on it, and then she wrote that whole note. So I'm actually, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And it's also, I wrote it in a mixed language way too, where it's Chamorro words and phrases within English syntax, and there's a glossary at the end too. Yeah, so I'm glad that you liked it, Kiana.
Yes. And I was just wondering, choosing to write children's books, how do you choose like what your focus is going to be, for each book? Like, how do you know which story it is that you want to tell?
Yeah, that's a really good book. So what I look for are symbols of Chamorro values. So like for CHepCHop Unai, it was the beach. And then I really looked at that, like how that was a symbol for absorbing knowledge. And then for me, the Bella Matuzan, right, it was a symbol of the belly makes the sound, but the heart makes the music. And the story is really layered in the sense where, it's about like when we learn something from somebody, right, that lives within us forever. And it's about like how she actually learns to make her own music. And I've always found that art is therapy. And so I found that with both books, there's a recurring theme of like art is therapy. And for me, both books are about social emotional learning. As a teacher, that's really important to me. And so both books in their own way deal with that. Like CHepCHop Unai was about being a good sportsman. It was about like not giving up after losing. And then this one is about not giving up after losing like somebody important in our lives.
Very nice. Thank you for answering that question. Did
Sure.
anybody else have questions for Kathy?
How was it writing with your brother on these books? Do you come together at the beginning or just go back and forth with each other throughout? Or
yeah, what helps is that like we'll go back and forth throughout, because like I often will need like somebody to like a sounding board. Like I kind of need somebody to say like, is this idea okay or not? And like, so it helps to have a co-author in that way, because then like I can like, we'll kind of condense a certain part or expand a part. And I have a lot of blind spots as a writer. So having a co-author helps to fill in the blind spots. That's a good question.
go.
it's hard for me to write my book a little bit, so can you please, like, I don't know how to think of it. Like, I keep on changing my book. So hard for me to think of it. How did you get like your idea and like put your finger down to it? Like, this is gonna be my book. I want this to be my book.
That's a really good question. So what I do is I let myself have multiple books because I used to think, okay, like it was hard for me to decide what to put in one book. So the way my solution was to have multiple books. So I don't try to put everything into one book because like I've always wanted to write about this instrument, but I've always wanted to write about the beach. But then I was like, oh, I can't put them two together. So then I just decided to have different books. That's a very good question. So that might work for you, is just to kind of give yourself, right, like space to write different books. And I also write for different audiences, and I also write for different publishers. So for example, I write for the Hawaii audience, right? I write for the Keikis, and that's different than writing for the Chamorros, right? And in Chamorro, we call them nennies, right? And so that also freed me up too, because like I can't write for both in one book. They're going to be different. And then I actually have a series coming out in the States, and it's going to launch, and I'll share with you guys too when it comes out, but it's STEM picture books. And I'm under contract for 4 books right now. And the first one is going to come out in the spring. And they're about like different science concepts. And there's just no way, right, I could have like written those science concepts within like these Chamorro books because it would have just been too much. So that's what I just do, is I give myself space to write different kinds of books. And so, and as a creative person, right, like the more that we exercise our creativity, actually the more ideas I get. And so like, even after that series is done, I actually have an idea for a Chamorro middle grade novel that'll be about Chamorro mythology. So like, I just have to give myself, right, permission to like write different books for different audiences and even different genres too.
Very nice. That actually answers one of the questions in the chat. Capri wanted to know if you'll ever write a chapter book. Yeah, and then Karina also had a question. When working with your illustrator, do you come up with ideas for composition based on the text, or do they do that, or do you collaborate together? And so
Yeah,
you had, yeah, go ahead.
Oops, sorry. That's a really good question. So it depends on the publisher. So for the Hawaii books, I didn't have any collaboration at all. They just told me toward the end, these are the illustrations and you can choose the cover. For the Chamorro books, I had actually weekly art meetings with the illustrators. So we would meet for about 30 minutes to an hour every week, just hashing out like what art would go with the text. So it was a lot more synergistic. For the publisher in Washington, DC, they once in a while will like show me an illustration, but like my opinion doesn't really count for them because I kind of like voted for an illustrator and they didn't go with it, but that's okay. But it just kind of shows that it just like really, varies.
Wait, did you mean like you try to choose an illustrator, but the company didn't approve of it?
Yeah. So that happened. So they gave me 3 choices and they said like choose the one you like. So I chose one, but then they went with another one. But
wow.
okay.
Interesting.
So I kind of know probably for formality to ask me, like they weren't going to go with it anyway, but it's okay. I don't mind.
That's so interesting. I always wondered what it was like to kind of like work with the illustrator or like not work with the illustrator. And so I appreciate you like giving us that insight that it really just depends on the publisher. Yeah, I feel like I'm learning a lot about that. Yeah. Did anybody else have any questions for Kathy?
And one thing that's nice is that, so I don't pay for anything. I don't pay for any illustrator, any design. So I get paid like advance or royalty. I declined that for the University of Guam Press. but for the others, I did accept advances and royalties, but just to let you know that if you do go with a traditional publisher, then you don't pay anything, they pay you.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's really good to know.
Thank you so much, Kathy. This has been so enlightening, like so enjoyable just to see and hear the process. I really appreciate you for taking time out of your Sunday to be with us.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And please feel free to stay in touch. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Kathy A. Payne.
Yes, I appreciate your Instagram presence so much. It's really awesome to see like children, like that you're engaging with your audience. And as a parent now, like I'm so excited to have like a local writer who's like consistently publishing children's books. And so thank you so much for what you do, Kathy. You are very much appreciated.
Thanks.
Okay, so thank you everybody for coming. Sana Ma'asi. That will conclude our Pasifika Virtual Book Club with Kathy Payne.